Akhilesh, thanks so much for being part of the Down and Dirty podcast series, where we're going to get into the weeds of how you, as an HR professional, use ChatGPT as part of your daily workflow. Before we get started, though, please introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners who may not know you.
All right. Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me. For those who do not know me, I'm sure most of you, my name is Akhilesh. I'm an HR professional by career for the last 7+ years. In addition to that, I run my own mental health organization as well. It's a non-profit organization called Your Wonderful Project. I think the background which I chose here has the logo as well. So yeah, I have been working as an HR for the last 7 years, and within the time, I have had the opportunity to learn about mental health in such a way with my organization that right now I have integrated both of them in my professional career, where I'm working with a mental health company with their HR requirements as an HR business partner. So yeah, that's basically it. I am from Delhi. I work in Delhi NCR. I have two clinics here, which I oscillate between throughout the week.
What is a day in your life like? Like, literally, if you had to walk us through, you wake up in the morning, you do whatever, you're at work at certain, and then what happens? Like, once you step into office, whether it's virtual or whether it's physical, what happens?
So, taking example of any of the workplaces that I have been part of, one of the major things for me is that one, I regret Mondays a lot. Uh, Monday blues, I think, for HRs are especially on the top level because everyone realizes that throughout the weekend, I have this question, I have this query, I have this grievance, I have this problem, and Monday is the day that everyone reaches to me. Akhilesh, I have this issue, I have this issue. Especially Monday in the first month or first week of the month when the salaries are also credited. So it's like 50% of the population have a problem with the salary, half the population have a problem with this and that. So the first day, the Monday, is very difficult for me. It is uh, meetings after meetings with people, trying to make them understand what happened, how can they resolve something or the other. So that's basically a Monday I'm talking about. But generally, on a general weekday when I reach office, one of the major things which I tend to do is in the first half, I tend to finish off all the unread emails and stuff because I'm someone who would have zero like in the inbox counter. I've seen a lot of people who have like n number of emails unread for like thousands of years. I don't know why, but for me, it is genuinely a trigger when I see multiple emails there, and it is basically my to-do list as well. At some point, like I have my own to-do list, but just the number of emails unread, I need to like finish them off in the like before the first half, and then I try to see within the tasks which I have if there's anything which requires my immediate attention, and then I basically formulate which is priority, what is not priority, and then according by the end of the second half, I am, I think I am fully satisfied that this is end of the day. That's when I end my day. It's like if I'm not satisfied with what has happened so far, and there's some task which is on my to-do list still, and that it is on priority, I would not leave for the day just because the working hours are over. That's like some might say that it is a very problematic thing to like overwork or work beyond your work hours. But I also feel that if I have the privilege to leave the office or leave the work early, it I might as well just like provide my hours beyond the working hours just to like ensure everything is in place.
Got it. So, would you say that the bulk of your day then is working with email, responding, adding more stuff, following up? So it's largely driven by email, your exchanges.
I think, yeah, I think 50% of my work has to be related to emails or anything
Yeah.
related to the online functionality of it, be it the portals that we use, be it the Excel sheets that we have. Emails are also sometimes part of the Excel sheets mostly.
Yeah.
Like I do have a, how do I say, at some certain point of the day, I do feel that now it's time for some human interaction, where I genuinely take a, how do I say, round across the office, across the bullpen, just to have a conversation with people, because I also feel those mails are coming because I'm having these interactions with these people. Otherwise, people would just think of HR as those Rangoli making people once in the year. That is also something I was.
So are you basically saying that you're servicing angst in people? Like they see you walking, they're like, oh shit, yeah, yes, I had that problem. I better write to Akhilesh now. So
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
it is actually like it's something which I've tested myself as well. Like
Okay.
uh, for the longest time, I was like uh, in a new organization, I wasn't getting a lot of people asking me basic queries. It would come to me from a person who they asked to, and I realized like maybe because I'm not interacting with them enough, and then I started doing those interaction, and now nobody goes to those third people like their managers directly, or they can reach out to me directly, which is something which I prefer because that establishes the connection between them as well. Yeah, and there's a lot of, how do I say, misconceptions about my industry. Not just industry, but within the HR framework, a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, which I genuinely have taken the, how do I say, bait into change in terms of how people think of HRs.
So, what's the types of emails that you are bouncing off or responding to? Which means, are they clarifications on terminations, or are they clarifications on holidays, or are they some like what are the categories?
I think most important mailers which generally come through are the ones which are basically around the fact that I have announced XYZ, and basically the company is doing something and I have announced it and there is an XYZ thing happening. There's a lot of clarification around the same thing, wherein let's say the email might have confused someone, or the email might not have given enough clarity to the entire context of it, like why is XYZ happening in the first place. So a lot of those what do you call discussions are based around that, but where the emails come through and then there's a clarification email sent out, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so let's switch gears and talk about how AI, and in particular ChatGPT, might be helping you manage some of this workload, right? Which seems to be, like you said, primarily driven around managing your inbox
Right.
and responding and clarifying things. So, broadly speaking, when do you remember first hearing about ChatGPT or even just AI in general?
Like I am someone who is very technically savvy. I would say so. Before ChatGPT was launched, before it was a big deal for everyone, I had heard of something similar to ChatGPT coming in. And before ChatGPT came in, there were a lot of other tools which were similar on a similar fashion running around. And ChatGPT initially wasn't open for everyone. It was open for beta testers, and at that time around, I was wondering around how efficient this could be, because I hadn't tested it myself, so I didn't know how efficient these things would be, or if it could be reliable or not. And then there was this entire discussion around like AI taking over the planet and all of that. So that was also an interesting take. So I was quite like aware of what is going to happen, and to my expectation, I think it was beyond my expectation in terms of the user interface and how it has like this is just the first version, right? Like, this is probably the initial version of what we are seeing. It would eventually grow larger, and it is growing larger as we speak. So yeah,
So, first impressions of the two are obviously favorable from what you're saying. When you actually played with it the first time
mhm.
it came out and everyone could use it, you're saying you had a pretty impressive first interaction with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, my first interaction wasn't very formal in nature.
Yeah.
First interaction was just me trying out, testing how far I can take this, because I think back in school as well, I have had these websites which were available where you could say something and there was a chatbot which was responding to you. And chatbots have been out there for, I don't know, over a decade now. And
Yes.
I remember there were these applications as well. Like, there was something called Chat Buddy back in 2012, and it would address my basic questions, and it could automatically respond to messages on portals like Facebook and Orkut. So I'm coming from there. So from that interaction to this interaction, I was pretty impressed. Like, we've all used Siri or OK Google, so it felt similar. It felt familiar, but what it could do was beyond what these how do I say, supporting softwares would have done in the past. In terms of, I was genuinely surprised when I saw these videos of ChatGPT creating an entire what do you call, source code for for websites, which was impressive. And I that's when I genuinely thought that this is something to stay. It's not something that people will like start using for someday and then get bored and then leave it for. So yeah.
So how do you use it? I know you use it quite frequently, at least a couple of times a week. So where, in what capacity are you using it when it comes to work?
So when it comes to work, I like, my basic requirement generally is not the language. It's not about probably the formal setting of tone or anything. It's just about how the structure of a certain thing would sound like, and it gives me better options to have multiple options to look at from. Let's say what I do is never use ChatGPT to start off the entire thing on its own. Like, I wouldn't just ask ChatGPT to draft a email for me. I would draft it myself, keep that version to me, and then provide that version to ChatGPT in order for that ChatGPT to probably assess it and regenerate it. And then I compare what has it changed and how can it work here. Because I know for a fact that at this point I can recognize any emails which has come from a ChatGPT version. So
How 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 recognize that?
very, I think the structure is very basic. Like, if someone who's using ChatGPT for basic things and they're not changing a lot of things, it's very easy to recognize. Also, there are other tools as well which recognizes it, but I'm not talking about those tools either. I'm just talking about basic structure. Like, for years, for decades now, I have been writing emails as dear XYZ, I hope you're doing well, and whatever the content is. ChatGPT doesn't do that. ChatGPT writes dear whatever, I hope you're doing well, and the rest of the sentence is in a single format. So every time someone sends that email, I know for a fact that it's ChatGPT se aaya hai. So yeah, I think your voice is cracking a little bit.
I said that's a cool hack. That's how you can figure it out.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're using it. This is very interesting. You're not using it to generate something from scratch. You're using it to update and enhance, and then actually compare and contrast, see if that works for you, and then see if you need to modify something. So, how would you say using it has impacted your work since you've started relying on it to a certain extent?
when I talk about impact, I think one major impact would be time. I think above everything, time is something which I'm able to save because of ChatGPT. Let's say the versions I'm talking about, the multiple versions we are looking at and comparing which is better to go out and if it would sound better or something. If I do it manually, if I start, let's say I drafted one email and then I realize, okay, I can prepare another version of it, and I draft another email, the time and effort I will take has lowered down severely. Like right now, for something like that, I would take half an hour or maybe 45-50 minutes. But in ChatGPT, that comes down to, let's say, less than a minute for it to just generate it. So by the time I'm done within half an hour, I can identify which one I need to use, which version is the best, and so on.
That's amazing. So, you know what we should do right now, Akhilesh? We should do a screen share and give me an example of what that might look like. So, I'm hoping that you have your chat GPT open in front of you and I've given you permission. So, you want to do a share screen?
Sure, sure. Let me just figure it out. Can you see it?
Yes, can see it.
Perfect, perfect.
And good for you, you have no history. So, the first thing I do is like look at what have people used it for on the left.
I would be
So,
very honest, this is a very, very brand new ChatGPT account.
yeah.
Because if I go through my the other ones, there is so much history that you would still keep on scrolling through here. So I did not want you to see my history at all.
It's like seeing someone's text messages now. Like I think if you see someone's chat GPT thread, you're gonna be like, wow, this is really personal.
In fact, I've been using it on my phone as well recently. So because I do that, those history come here. And because I use it on my phone, I use it for anything and everything. Like even Google searches have now become my ChatGPT searches. So I end up like having questions like, why is it raining so much today? Or things like that.
Okay, all right. Okay, so fine.
All right, let's jump into this. I think an example which I can take off is I'll just take the current scenario. I'm in Delhi right now and it's raining heavy since the last, I don't know, 6, 7 hours now.
Hmm.
And Delhi is not used to such rains. We are used to like 15 minutes of rain and then back to normal. But let's say something like this is happening, and because of the constant rain, we are shifting, let's say, the office hours to certain hours. I don't know. Like I'm just making things up right now. So in order to do that, what I do is instead of just asking like I can do this, I can just ask ChatGPT to draft a message saying that uh due to rain, we will be changing work hours from 9 to 5 to, let's say, give me an example, 11. 11.
11 to 3 kar de.
Wow.
Why not?
Of course. Like my HR brain doesn't allow that, but okay. So this
Yes.
is basic. Like I've just asked it to do it, and it won't take much time. And it has generated a good content. I think more than enough content now. Um, it's talking like if you just have a look at it, it already recognized that it's a work email because we are talking about work hours. So that's already good start. And then this basic thing which I was earlier talking about, we hope you're doing well, and the next sentence at the same time. This is what I never do, but I think that's something which I recognize because I don't do it, but the others might. Um, but yeah, it has more or less identified the problem and probably given a little bit data as well, like heavy rains are forecasted for tomorrow morning and all of these things. I did not mention all of these things. So I'm genuinely already happy with this content, but I'm not happy with the fact that this is not something which I have prepared myself. And there's always that kind of, how do I say, there's a word for this, like you are constantly worried about the things that this is not genuinely coming out of you, and this is not how like it's not ethical. So that is something which is definitely in my mind, and that's something which I want to avoid. So what I'll do is let's say this is the ideal option that was there. The next thing which I generally do is I would write an email myself that dear team, of course. And what I'll do is I will just mention due to heavy rains in Delhi NCR and flooding of major roadways, we are shifting from regular work hours to a rainy season, right? Yeah, rainy season working hours from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Uh, yeah, like this is basic. I just gave the information. I can just write things like if you need to contact me, you can do that and all of that. So this is the basic draft version which I have. Now what I do is I'll take that same draft message and just mention about to rewrite it.
So why didn't you do the whole thing? Just write it as though you were writing a draft email because I would like your thoughts on the rewrite.
Uh, we understand that this will be mm, what is the spelling of inconvenient
There we go.
for you, but at the same time we want to ensure your safety and put. So this is the basic draft I've already created. I
Right.
can send this out without a doubt because I can't see any errors or any problem because I've already addressed the main concern. I added the reason. I have added the basic logic of why we are doing or what we are doing, and I've also given that opportunity to reach out to me if they have any queries or concerns. But at this point, I also feel that maybe some people might not be privy to the fact that is this necessary, or they might have questions around the fact like let's say Akhilesh is saying all of this, but we have a meeting at 3 p.m. starting at 3 p.m. How will we address the fact that the workday ends at 3 p.m.? How will we talk to our clients who are in Mumbai who are in bright sunny day right now? So all of this, I also feel at that time that might as well create another version and see if it works for me or not. So what I'll quickly do is I'll just rewrite and add things like rewrite and probably add things like let's say uh make it detailed, probably around the weather aspect. Then I can add another thing, add options for working remotely, add options for people who have uh, appointments beyond 3 p.m. Basic things which I know it would automatically recognize and probably give me a better version of it, and I'll just ask it to rewrite. And the new version which is getting created right now is so much different. Now, these bullet points, these numbered remote work flexibility, safety first, all of these things make it sound even more empathetic to the employees, which I should ideally be feeling it. But at the same time, by the time I create this version, it would take me another, let's say, half an hour to even come down to what all should I be working on. So this version has already solved that issue. It has already ensured the subject basic body of the first like paragraph already addresses the problem that this is the problem. Then it addresses the solution that this is what we are like providing as a solution. In addition, it is already suggesting to further accommodations that now this word further accommodation of to accommodate your needs, it was not something which I suggested here, but it recognizes that this is a workplace email and we are accommodating the employees. So it has provided these a few suggestions like remote work. I have just mentioned remote work. It has explained it that if your task can be completed remotely, we strongly encourage you to work from home during this period. Again, flexibility for appointments. It has already mentioned if you have an appointment that cannot be rescheduled, please reach out to the supervisor, blah, blah, blah. And safety first, it has clearly mentioned your safety is at most important. This is very empathetic, and I'm genuinely glad that this message came in because this doesn't feel very AI, right? This feels very human, and that's the probably beauty of this AI, that it makes itself sound very human. And it clearly just adds this line that I understand this adjustment may cause inconvenience and all of this. However, we believe that it is crucial to prioritize your safety. This is very empathetic sentence, and I think as an HR, these are things which we are always looking out for. That whenever we are writing an email, it shouldn't sound very formal in nature. It shouldn't sound that we are trying to create inconvenience for the employees, but we are here to support them. In essentially, HR is basically a support department. For it's not a money making department, right? Like any other department, any organization is somehow related to creating business or making money for the organization, but we are here to support them. So yeah, this probably was a good example of how basically
And then
make.
what would you look at something like this and say, you know what, this is good to go out? I mean, I don't need to do anything to this. Have you do you just copy paste this and say, okay, it's modified what I had originally seeded it with. It's added more stuff and I'm good to go.
Not entirely. So at this point, probably I would copy it from here and
Hmm.
put it on my mail thread, but new mail format. But I would also slightly change certain things and probably change things which I can feel that this is not how I generally email. Like
Got
the very first thing which I mentioned, this I just add one more sentence here. I
that.
think that's basic stuff. And again, a few things here and there. I know for a fact that these three pointers of accommodation, these two makes much more sense, but this is something which can be clubbed with this one. So I could probably
Huh.
rewrite this part. So I make these changes to ensure that it doesn't sound very robotic at the same time. Like the irony of it here is the fact that I have to change the empathetic version to make it less robotic. So I think genuinely I have always had this like before Chat GPT there was always this I forgot the word when you copy someone's writing work, it's called uh pardon,
Rising. Rising.
plagiarism, right? Plagiarism. So I was always worried about plagiarism. I think from college, because we used to like copy everything from Wikipedia back in the days. So I always used to do that, like regenerate or change the words here and there so that it doesn't look copied. So yeah, I think that's something which occurs naturally to me. But I've also seen a lot of people who have obviously provided content without doing all of that effort of changing it.
How are you using ChatGPT outside of work? Like at work, it's for emails. What do you do? You said you use it in place of search, as in instead of just searching, you ask it lots of whys, I imagine. Why is the weather so crappy, like you said? What are some other places or spaces or use cases for it in personal life?
Personal life and person use cases. I've used it to generate chat as well. I haven't told this to a lot of people. I think there was this one time I was having an argument with someone, and during that argument, like generally, and this argument isn't happening on in person or a call or anything. It was on chat, and at this point, I'm at the same time like doing something else, and there's an entire long chat which has come through, and I do not want to like engage in it because I'm not even like completely how do I say, like my heart isn't in it, right? So what I did was I had also learned the fact that chat gpt recognizes your tonality, how you text. If you provided some basic text, it identifies your tonality and recreates those messages whatever you want to write in the same tonality. So like, for example, I use this an emoji which is a how do I say colon P, which basically is a very how do I say millennial emoji, which I think a lot of people do not use. Uh, I provide like feed it all of this data that this is how I text and all of this to ChatGPT, and it recreated a entire response to one of the messages within there, and I sent it out, and the person I don't think still does not. I think after watching this video, probably would figure out that it could be them. But yeah.
Oh, I have not that 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 use case before of responding to an argument, but that's pretty clever. I can see how that would save you time. So, and you have this on your phone, right? So it's easy for you to just you can just copy the text and then just dump it in. Um, uh,
Yeah, like at some point of time, I remember just to sound smart, you could use ChatGPT as well. Like just to sound smart in an argument or in a general conversation. I think there was some conversation happening around entropy. Now, entropy is a very vast subject, and it's from science. And I'm not a person from science, but I do know or understand basics of science, basics of entropy, and what I did was while someone was having a argument with someone about some basics, I just copied those texts and shared it with ChatGPT and just wrote that go through these basic chats and generate a chat which is from this perspective. of an argument, and it did that from my tonality, and I was just sounding cool in that WhatsApp group with few friends of mine. So yeah, I think one basic, I think this is a funny incident. I believe that I used ChatGPT in one of the dating apps as well, and that was, I think, was wonderful. So in iPhones you can take a screenshot of the prompts which are on any dating app. When you take the screenshot, it recognizes the text, and you can copy the text, you can post it on ChatGPT and create a response which could be witty, it could be funny, if you want to make it how to say, just witty, emotional, anything. So yeah, I think I've done all of these experiments with ChatGPT, especially when the mobile application came through. Like this is gold.
Did we get some dates out of that? Like that's what I want to know. Like, like,
I think I'll
they
keep
come
that to
to some
myself.
use. Huh?
I just don't want that person to figure that out.
Oh my God, this is gonna be like what is that movie with Will Smith where you're like where this guy uses Will Smith's help to like become the
Uh,
relationship guru, and then at the end the lady's so
no, it's
pissed
not.
off, obviously saying, "Oh wait, this wasn't you. This was Will, like feeding information to you this whole time." Like that's what it's gonna be with like ChatGPT.
Not the name of the movie, but I know for a fact that
That's what
there's
I'm
an
talking about.
Indian version of it called Partner.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
that's exactly what came to mind.
yeah.
Um,
Some fun is Will Smith in it.
So, okay, so um, for an HR professional who's watching this and trying to think about how to start using ChatGPT or use it for different use cases, and here's one on helping with email. What advice would you give them if they're just starting out in this? Is there any learnings in terms of how to optimize this tool?
I think one thing, like one quote which I genuinely found very interesting and helpful was the fact there was a lot of chatter around the fact that AI is going to take over your jobs, AI is going to take over this or that. It could be true to a certain extent, like especially within the writing field. It could be very true that anyone, everyone could come through and create content without the people realizing that this is not generated by a human but an AI generated thing. But at the same time, there was a quote, I think, by Elon Musk. I'm not sure. I think it is Elon Musk, that AI is not going to take your jobs. It's the person who is using AI who's going to take your jobs.
Yeah.
And that resonated a lot with me, because if you like, I used this in one of my interviews recently as well. uh, we had created an assignment for someone, and we let that person take the entire room, gave them internet access, asked them to create a document about something, and they still did not use any features. Like, in certain interviews, you're not like thinking about, like, you're not interviewing the skill set in terms of what is the writing skill or what, like, because their job, basic job, is not about writing, it's about something else. But there's a task which is about writing. And my understanding at this point was that if this person uses chat gpt to create this entire text, I would be more impressed than they themselves writing it. But yeah, that person did not do it. But like, at this point, I'm thinking that if you are skilled enough to learn a technology, use it for your own good and be good at it, and not let other people realize, even if like it's fine for them to realize created by ChatGPT, but if they are skilled enough to use it in for their own good, I think that's a good skill to have. At certain point, I'm sure I'll start seeing a lot of skills as a ChatGPT skilled ChatGPT user in people's resumes. So yeah.
So, okay, so that's pretty solid advice. Don't shy away from it, is what you're saying. You're saying adopt it, integrate it, learn how to use it well. At the same time, make sure that it's personal, so it sounds like you, because that's what you're doing, right? In how you use ChatGPT, and you've now also given us an example, or given other HR professionals an example of how they might even start. You know, like where to start. Like here's a starting point. So Akhilesh, thanks so much for taking us through that and sharing your views on ChatGPT, both in personal and professional life. And is there anything else that you want to add on this topic of, AI and work, ChatGPT, anything else that comes to mind that we haven't talked about?
I think, like, it's just a personal opinion at this point, but I also feel that people are also very worried about the same thing which I just spoke about AI, Chat GPT, or platforms similar to like this taking over the planet, taking over the world, Terminator being real, and all of this. These are things not to worry about, and it's not in your hands anyway. Like
Yeah.
I, being sitting here in my laptop with my laptop and using ChatGPT, I'm not providing the future Terminator to come down to Earth and like do something. So if you are worried or thinking about, oh my God, technology is going to ruin everything, this, that, you're anyway not going to help change the technology or so. Might as well, like, as long as here, we all know it's here to stay, might as well adapt it for your own good and uh take it forward.
Okay, thanks so much. And appreciate you being on the show. And yeah, have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, you too, and thank you for
Okay.
having me.
Thanks, Akhilesh. Bye.